All right. I'm called to order tonight's meeting of the Finance Committee. It's Monday, December 4th, 2020. The time's 4:32. I'm Laura McNally, Fifth Ward City Council person and chairwoman for tonight's meeting. I'm going to take our roll call here for everybody. We have Jennifer Ozinger, Rick Deek, Kyle Mizak, Anita Davis, Basha Adamzak, Beverly Hosey, Chuck Shasho, Dawn Turnage, Aaron Bishop, Harry Johnson, Julius Oliver, Kevin Flynn, Tito Brown, Mike Ray, Nikki Posterly, Samantha Turner, Valencia Morrow, Barry Finley, Jean Leeson, and Jeff Limbian. Did I miss anybody? Okay. All right, we'll get started tonight under our ordinances here. Ordinance number 1 for catch basins and castings and replacement. Any questions on this piece? Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. I believe this question is for Chuck. About how many does this cover?
The chair, catch basins, yes, catch basins. It depends what they are, Councilwoman. Like there's like the manhole castings and frames, a little more than the catch basins because there's a frame that goes with it. There's different types of catch basins. It's really hard to put a number. A majority of them that we put in are usually the half moon. A lot of them are the half moon style of the catch basins. Sometimes they're the ODOT style number 3s or 3As. The 3As are less expensive than the 3s. The 3s are basically twice as big. So it's really kind of difficult to, I mean, if you want, I'll get you a list of our inventory from last year. I'm not sure it's going to mean a lot to you, but it's just basically in the manhole lids, there's different size manhole lids. There's our standard manhole lids. And then as they get older, the newer ones we put in, that the new sewers, the new manholes are larger so that we can get more vector hoses and pump lines in if we have to bypass pump. So it's really, there's a lot of variables.
Thank you. Just a direct follow-up. So about how many, let's say half moons, did you put in 2020?
I don't have that answer right now. I'll get it to you though. I mean, it's not, I don't know that it's something I have readily available.
Yeah, I would just the ballpark. I know we have a couple out across, my ward, and I'm sure across the city. So I just a ballpark on how many this would cover. More specifically, let's say the half moons. I just took a picture of one on my way home today. So if you could provide that information, that'd be great. Just about how many expect to be fixed this year with this amount.
Any other questions?
I would say probably 125 to 130.
Chuck, is that how many you
Just an
guys
estimate.
fixed last year or what year?
Or, but I think 150,000 in frames would cover.
Gotcha.
I
And
just did it quick.
what is this around what we spent last year?
Gene, I don't know if you have that information, if you brought that with you or not.
It's through the chair. We're assuming we're going to get more done next year. This year was a very terrible year for production, to be honest with you. Working with the way that our crews were on and off and staggering them. We're hopefully going to take a much more aggressive stance next year. If the COVID-19 goes away, we're going to do a lot more than we did this year.
So did we not, if we, had to pull back a little bit last year, did we not expend everything we used last year? Or that we purchased, sorry.
Through the chair, we are low on inventory. That is why we need to make this purchase. This is expected what we'll be using for the entire year next year.
Okay.
Let's not forget, this is also, we keep an inventory of just lids. We have a lot of situations where we're just missing a lid. there's all different types of sizes throughout the city, so we have to keep an inventory of each different type as well.
Okay, so you don't really break out these three pieces here. You just have it all lumped together. So is that what's makes it difficult to
One
kind
vendor
of,
usually, yeah.
because it's under the same vendor?
It's probably under this, unless we get into some type of strange, different type of structure that we don't usually have.
Gotcha. Okay,
Through the chair, I have one more question.
Samantha.
How, thank you, through the chair, Chuck, could you tell me, do you have a backlog of catch basins that need to be replaced, or how does your log look since it was a slow year of production?
Yeah, we do have a backlog.
What
I can't tell you off the top of my head what they are, but yeah, if you wanted to just you could email me these questions, Councilwoman, in advance. Then I would have the answers for you if you wanted to.
So we've had I asked before about the backlog, and I know you told me that they call. So I assume that maybe Jean, you might have some access to that information. This legislation, this is why I'm asking, because this legislation is asking to bring that forth, but it doesn't tell us how many we are replacing or how many we can replace. And I just would like there to be more detail that comes along with this. And I understand this was a slow year of production, so that backlog would be great to know, because if we're starting in the rears, that 150 may go towards all of those calls that you got this year. So that's just some general information that I just would like for that to come with you to the meeting, so we can have clarity. Those are just general questions. I don't think that would have had you do some extra research, but please provide that information before Wednesday's meeting. Thank you.
Other questions from anyone else? Anita?
Through the chair, Chuck, so you said it includes the lids and things like that. Those things are locked down. Are people able to steal? Are they stealing them, or they just, what's happening that we have to keep a standing supply of them? Are they breaking?
Through the chair, sometimes they're stolen. Sometimes they are just broken. Sometimes they break. A truck might go over them, or for whatever reason, they might break. So the lids them. So there's a casting and a lid. The casting is the part that's buried in the pavement. Then the lid sits on top of the casting. So every casting has a different size lid, or there's several different sizes, I should say.
Okay.
So sometimes it's just the lid. Sometimes the casting breaks. There's a lot of times trucks will run over the catch basins in the curb line and collapse them. Sometimes we fix a catch basin and the lid just needs reset. Sometimes we don't have to change it. There's really the number of catch basins that are broken has really not much of a relation on the number of lids that we buy or castings.
Anything else? Okay, just to piggyback off of Councilwoman Turner, I would also like to just kind of get a recap of the catch basins in particular from last year, and that we did do, and what our log looks like moving forward for this year, because I know that's always something that
Sure.
is hot in my ward.
Yeah, I'll absolutely. I will, through the chair, sorry, I will definitely get them for you, but either way, we still need the lids.
All right, I'm going to move on to number 2. Questions also for Chuck here. This one doesn't include any city funds. And I believe, Chuck, you provided additional information before tonight's meeting on the specifics of this.
That was through the chair. That wasn't this one. This is some miscellaneous mainline concrete repairs on some limited access highways. The only thing that's really included on this is a little bit on 680 and a little bit on State Route 711. There's no city funds involved in this, but it is spanning several counties. A couple different counties, I should say.
Anita?
Chair, check, it's not a financial question, it's just informational. You said limited access highway?
Yeah,
What is-
limited access highway is through the chair, sorry. I mean, through the chair. The limited access highway is a highway where you would think of as like 680, 80, Route 11, where it's illegal to access the highway unless you're in a motor vehicle. If there's no pedestrians allowed on it, it's fenced off. That's limited access.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, number 3. Questions also for Chuck here. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, number 3. No direct city funds on this one either. Not seeing any questions. Samantha?
Thank you, through the chair. Chuck, can you attach the map that you sent for number 3 to the legislation?
I can't, sure, would that have to be an amendment or do I need to?
Jeff? Chuck sent a map detailing the locations that would be affected by this piece of legislation, and I just think it should be attached to the legislation. Is Jeff on? Oh, yeah, he is.
Jeff, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Through the chair, it doesn't change the legislation. I just think it would be a supplemental information to it attached to that. I don't think it's any material change. Just a matter of getting that on there.
Right, Mike, thank you for that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I already gave it, Valencia has it. She was copied on the email that I sent you guys earlier.
Correct. So,
Through the chair, can you hear me? It's Jeff.
yeah, Jeff, we can hear you.
Okay. Do you have sufficient information or can I provide a little more?
I mean, yeah, I think it's just preference if it gets attached or not, but you can
Exactly.
clarify.
Yes, I mean, we can frame the legislation however you would prefer it. I mean, I think it's adequate in its current state, but it's certainly, as a legislative body, if you choose to have it more detailed, we can certainly do that.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, number 4. Questions. Anita?
Through the chair, Chuck, our share is 197.6. What is the total amount of the project?
Councilman, I'm going to look it up while I'm talking to you guys. or
Okay,
throughout
that's
the-
what Mark,
I'll come back to you.
okay, and through the chair?
Go ahead, Anita.
And this piece is for the balance of Mark Street from Indianola to Midlothian, correct?
Through the chair, yes, this is going to be from Midlothian to Indianola. It's also Canfield Road from it's Canfield Road from Meridian Road to, I believe it's just past the mill, Rogers Ave. I think it's Rogers Road or Rogers Avenue,
Okay,
right off of Canfield Road there.
and last question on this subject through the chair?
Go ahead, Anita.
Yes, and we're paying for it this year, but the actual production work won't begin until 2022?
I'm going on ODOT's website right now to be able to answer your questions as I go here.
Okay,
The project is fiscal year 2022. So that means that their fiscal year, that means it will start they'll sell the project like in the fall, but they probably won't start construction until spring of 2022.
spring of 2022. Okay, thank you.
Basha.
Thank you through the chair. Just a comment, I guess, question based off of what Councilman Davis was asking. If we're paying 20%, so the whole project would be then what? I think it would be like 988,000, almost $1 million if ours is the 197.6.
Through the chair. I'm trying to move my screen around here, sorry. The total project is $1,092,000.
Thank you.
For both roads. The schedule is supposed to sell, meaning they're going to award the contract in October 11th, 2021. It's scheduled to sell. And then begin construction 10/12, but that doesn't mean that physical construction is going to, I mean, that's October, so they won't probably start construction until spring of 2022. That's ODOT's schedule now.
Thanks, Chuck. Anything else here? Okay, I'm gonna move on to number 5. Sorry, I'm struggling. Number 5. Questions here.
Through the chair.
Samantha.
Thank you. Chuck, for this 2021 City of Youngstown Infrastructure Improvement Safety Upgrade Program, you provided us with a detailed list. Jeff, I would like that added to the legislation, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't think it's necessary. It's just a preference. And so we need to decide as a group how we want our legislation written. We can't keep making these one-off changes per one person's request. It'll make a mess of things for the law department. So let's discuss that as a group somehow, and decide the detail and structure of our legislation, because this isn't the first meeting where we've had these little changes that don't change the legislation itself.
Right.
Just personal preference.
But I think we should add this additional, since you went to the lengths to provide the detailed list of what this program looks like. I would like to see it included in the legislation. Thank you.
Anita.
To the chair, well, I think this might be a good place to, I'm not sure if this is a good place to ask or not, but Samantha, what's the rationale for adding this?
Clarity. So you reference a program, and the program he provided in a separate body of an email. The program that you reference here should be attached to this legislation so that any layperson picking it up could see what the program outline looks like, including the dates. Point of clarity.
Okay, through the chair.
Go ahead, Anita.
My question is to Attorney Limbian. Jeff, if we put that entire list in the legislation, and that list isn't followed correctly for whatever reason, do we end up having any kind of legal problem, any kind of issue? Is there, are we just be in violation? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't want the city to get, I mean, I like the idea of having it attached, but I don't want it to have it as the part of the actual legislative piece, because something might come up and they're not able to do every single one. So could this just be Samantha wants it as an addendum, but not as a part of the legislation? Is that right, Sam?
Through the chair, yes, an addendum or a reference to an appendix is certainly an option. I would agree with Councilwoman McNally that it's a stylistic issue and certainly not a necessity. And I think sometimes hamstringing anyone with that much specificity, while I'm all about openness and transparency, I think that I think the fluctuations in the markets of some of these things makes that nearly impossible to be that specific every time. I think you're slowing down a department when you do that, but that's just my view based on 3 years of experience in the law department.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I think we can have this discussion at another time as it deals with legislation, not finances. So I'm going to move on if there are no more financial questions about this particular piece.
Samantha has her
That
hand.
would be number 5. Do you have a question about
I do.
financial?
Through the chairs. Chuck, when you apply for this grant, you put down your list of locations you would like to complete, correct?
Yes.
So I'm just, that's what I'm asking for, is just the complete information in regards to what you put down, because I'm sure what you put down is what we have to service. So that is, again, more to the point of us putting that in this legislation, is because we've already told the state what we're going to do, and we're just going to make sure that it's all here. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay, everyone else good with this piece? Or have any other comments or questions?
Good.
Okay, I'm going to move on now to number 6. Questions here. Okay. Number 7. Questions here. Looks like, Aaron, do you know specifically what this money, what you're going to be using this additional funding for?
Through the chair,
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
this is funding that is not the health department's. This is funding that was redistributed by the county to the city, in addition to the installments that we received earlier this year. So there must have been some money returned by some communities within Mahoney County. So this amount was redistributed to us, and it needs to be appropriated so that it can be expended before the end of the calendar year.
What are you spending it on, Kyle?
This most likely will be part of the funds to reimburse police, fire, 911, and the health department for payroll and benefits.
And how much? So where are we at in terms of, I guess, expenditures caused by COVID and reimbursements for those expenditures from county or state funds?
Through the chair, just give me a second here, and I'm going to look something up. I'll tell you exactly what we have received. And to date, all of those funds have been encumbered. But if you give me a moment here, I'll tell you exactly what we have received from the state that was handed down from the federal government. So, in total, before we add these funds, we have received $5,285,000 approximately. We will be adding these amount to that total. The bulk of those monies have been used for reimbursement for payroll and benefits for our police department, our fire department, 911, and the health department from March payroll through November 30th payroll. We are then, on top of that, spending funds for services that equate to roughly, of that total, in the ballpark of about $225,000 in services. In supplies, about $370,000. In equipment, roughly $227,000. That detail will be, Excuse me?
Sorry, 227,000 or just 200?
Approximately, yes.
Okay.
So what was required of council and Board of Control in expending those funds, we have had approval from all of those entities to meet the requirements. Right now, we have a BOC agenda this Thursday that will have a number of items on it. And that will be the last of our dedicating select funds, because I will have to be reporting up all of the expenditures of these funds before the end of the calendar year. And if any money is unspent, it has to be returned. However, we will have expended every single penny and we'll be returning none of it.
So I guess what I'm looking for is after we appropriate or spend all the money that was given to us, how much out of our own pocket, for lack of a better word, did we still incur or spend on COVID related issues? Do you know that?
Through the chair, if you take that total I told you in revenue and back away those numbers I told you that we expended on services, supplies, and equipment, that is what we actually expended. The difference between that is what was reimbursed for wages and benefits that were dedicated to the addressing COVID-19 that were part of our current operating budget.
Okay, so the services, the supplies, the equipment, plus.
No, if you take those and add them together and then
Mhm.
subtract it from the total revenue, that difference,
What
what-
total revenue? The 5 million?
yes,
Okay,
that was what was then applied back to those funds to offset our payroll and benefits.
okay.
Through the chair.
Anita?
Through the chair. I missed the dollar figure, Cal, that you gave for services.
Okay.
For service, it was 225,000.
Approximately.
Supplies was 370, he said. And then equipment was 227.
Okay, thank you.
So this request in front of you is to appropriate money that was just sent to us in December from the county. And if we do not appropriate it in this council meeting, I will have to return those monies at the end of the calendar year without your authority to use those funds.
Yeah, I just want to see what, I want to A, make sure that we used it, but B, make sure that, I also am trying to see what was the impact on us beyond what we were reimbursed too.
Through the chair,
Sorry, I'm just doing math on my end right
once
now.
we finish with the end of this calendar year and we move into the budget year, I will be able to give you a better explanation of how those resources ended up on our books at the end of 2020 and how they will assist us in closing our budget gap for 2020 and how those monies that now have offset COVID-19 expenses, how our available resources will now be on our books as surplus, because in essence, we've substituted the COVID funds from the federal government to pay those costs associated with policing, fire, 911. So in essence, they've replenished our reserves and we've used their funds at the expense of using our own money. So now our own money will sit in those funds and we will be able to use those to tackle the situation that we will be addressing in the 2021 budget. But I will have more detail for you once we close out 2020 and all of this gets reported to the federal government.
Anita?
Through the chair, Cal, I would like for you to email us some sort of summary or some kind of details of the supplies and equipment that we purchased? I mean, we purchased,
Through the
Go
chair,
ahead.
the equipment is quite easy. The equipment, when you think about it, is coming down to us purchasing the X-ray machine and the new roll-off truck. That is the only equipment that we've purchased.
okay,
The largest piece on the supply side is all of the turnout gear, because you have to look at those as individual, not as a total overall cost. So that is the bulk of our supplies, is for that particular purchase for all 100 and I think it was 117 sets. But I will provide you with more detail as I provide that detail to the federal government. But like I said, the equipment was just 2 items, and in the large component of the operating supplies was our turnout gear. The
Okay.
major bulk of all of this is, again, wages and benefits, based on that memo that the mayor wrote and that we shared with you, outlining how we were going to utilize those resources.
And the wages and benefits, Kyle, is that the service number? Or did you not give us that number?
No, that is going to be the difference when you take the total revenue and then you subtract those items that I added up for you. That amount that's left over is going to be what's used to offset wages and benefits across all of those units.
Okay,
So we, in essence, have utilized these care fund monies to meet those obligations from May through November.
okay. And we had an increase in how did we need more money for wages and benefits than we had on the books during COVID?
Through the chair, you need to read the letter that I put together, that the mayor
Yes,
sent, where it identifies that we have identified COVID expenses associated with our police and fire and how much of their daily operations is related to that. And as a result, we've been able to earmark those dollars associated with all of that workload to be used from the funds provided by COVID-19.
okay. Are there any other questions? No, okay. All right. We're gonna move on to number 8. This was discussed last week at a separate finance committee meeting. Are there any further questions or comments since that meeting? Okay. Number 9.
Through the chair, that is
Yes.
mine.
Yes, Kyle.
When we put up legislation asking you to give us the authority to pay Bearcom the $275,000, the chief and I were unaware that the actual equipment order for all of what Bearcom is going to be installing on the half of the city came directly from Motorola. Motorola is invoicing us and not working through Bearcom. So I'm asking that you give us the authority to make payment without any change to the overall project scope to include Motorola and Bearcom, because Bearcom is not the only vendor part of this project. Bearcom is doing the installation. Motorola provided all of the equipment to put in to develop the umbrella around the city for this antenna system that will provide radio coverage for the fire department.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm not seeing any hands. So I'm gonna move on to number 10.
Through the chair, that is mine also. I provided you all with a letter where I declared that particular property on the corners of Canfield Road and Bears Den as surplus. We have had a title, we have had that property appraised. The appraisal price came back at $5,000. The the Economic Development Department, along with the mayor's office and the finance department, are in agreement that we are going to sell that property if council gives me the authority to declare it surplus for that amount to RSR Property Group, who currently has business and owns the building on that particular footprint.
Questions from anybody? Okay. Moving on. Number 11. Looks like 11 through 18 are discretionary. Just making sure I didn't miss one in there. Okay, we good there. I'm gonna keep going down for 19. Looks like we're hitting all of our discretionary here for the next handful. 19 through 28 is all discretionary. I'll pause for anything. Okay, 29 is discretionary. 30 through 37 discretionary. Pausing in case there's anything. 38 through 40 is discretionary. 41 through 43 is discretionary. And 44 through 68 is discretionary. Just scrolling back through to make sure nothing got slipped in that isn't discretionary in those numbers. Any comments, questions about any of the discretionary that I just ran through? That'll be the end of our agenda. Okay. That is the end of the agenda. So I will take, well, is there anything under miscellaneous before I ask for a motion? Okay. Oh, Anita?
To the chair, Chief Police just asked me to pass on the information that they will be given an entrance exam for the Youngstown Police Department, and that the sign up will begin, I believe it's the second week of January, for 2 weeks. If you have anyone who's interested, or just let people know that the Youngstown Police Department will be given an entrance exam, and that if there's anyone who's interested, come down to civil service, get the application, fill it out, and get themselves on the road to a career with the Youngstown Police Department. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, then I will take a motion. Basha, do you have a motion?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I would like to make a motion to forward ordinances 1 through 68 to the council floor for consideration of passage.
And I second.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned at 5:10. Thank you.